Welcome, welcome. What is going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome back to the stream. This is a stream, of course, where we don't have a name for it, which we need one, but it's where we're trying to build a business that is going to make us $1 million in revenue every single year. Now, if you noticed the title of this video, we started making a company. We call it Pixel Media, and it is a company that is dedicated to providing creative services for individuals and companies, specifically web design, web hosting, web development, and like graphic design services. Think of social media posts, flyers, banners, posters, things like that. So those have been, and some AV production as well, where I'd go off and shoot some video, do some interviews, like documentary style filmmaking, as well as helping manage AV systems during conferences. So a lot of different things here and there to try to kind of figure out where the company should go. And so far, I can't say total revenue because there's some revenue that hasn't been hit the books yet. That probably won't hit the books for another 6 to 9 months, maybe a little bit more than that, because there's been some like yearly contracts. Anyways, if I include all the contracts that have been signed to date, we've made a little over $100,000 in total revenue. That's gross revenue, so not like profit or what have you. So that's pretty good. And we started this business back in September of 2022. September 15th, I believe, was the first day we incorporated, and the first income that we actually generated was about a month after that. So that's where we are. So that's pretty, like, that's really good, obviously. Really happy about that. Really proud of what we accomplished so far to date in a relatively short period of time. I mean, how many businesses fail to make any profit within the first year, the first 5 years, or what have you? And the kind of business that I want to do, or any kind of business, is completely debt-free business. And the whole idea is to not pump in a bunch of money into it, to kind of get by on my own skills and my own steam, I guess you can say, and just build something that can just generate money by just providing some kind of service or whatever to people that they are going to want to pay for. So that's always been the idea and my philosophy around kind of starting a business. I definitely don't want to start by just being like getting massive debt, right? So if I can do it out of my own home or whatever to start, whatever the case may be, or if I have enough of my own money to start something, then that's how I want to go about it. So that being said, you might think that, okay, well, already making $100,000 in less than a year in business, well, just keep going, keep pumping away. The problem I'm having is I just feel that it's not quite what I'm meant to do, but it just doesn't feel quite right in terms of what I want to be doing, if that makes any sense. Like I wake up in the morning and I don't feel this great sense of excitement and joy and wonder or what have you in terms of, hey, today I get to design a poster, or today I have to, make some updates to a website. It's not really, I don't know. It's not really inspiring, I guess the word. It's just not really, I don't know. It's just might not be, I don't know, for me. I really don't even know what to say. I'm really kind of a loss for words in terms of how to describe it. It just doesn't seem to resonate with me after doing this as a business for in September it'll be a year, I guess. So what are we in June? So, 8-9 months. And it's, business has been going well, but, the fulfillment factor just hasn't been there for me. So we're going to talk. I think what I'd like to do is, and I'm not saying, sometimes you have to do in life, you just have to do what you have to do in order to get to where you want to be, right? So, like I love movies, and one of the movies that I love one of my favorite movies, I think is it ranked number 1 on IMDb? Anyway, Shawshank Redemption, right? Where he has to crawl through, spoilers if you haven't seen that movie, but he's got to crawl through like, what is it, 500 yards or 5 football fields in the sewer, in the waste, just to get out, kind of clean on the other side. So you have to go through some hard times in order to get to the good times, right? As long as the hard times, that they're going to lead you kind of to the good. So my mind is still open in that way, in that if this is the way that I need to go in order to get to where I want to be, then, so be it. Then I will, figure it out and, suck it up. I mean, I've been quote unquote sucking it up and doing these types of jobs for, I don't know, like basically my whole career, right? So it's not like it's the worst thing in the world to do. It's definitely not that. So, but really, so the question is it a means to an ends? And I guess the ends would be like making a certain amount of money. Then how much money is it do I need to make in order to get to where I want to be? And is there a way to get to where I want to be without having to sacrifice myself in the present moment? Those are kind of the questions that I'm asking myself. So what are we going to do? I think what I want to do is, obviously I've been thinking a lot about this over the past few days, and then over the weekend as well too. Lots of conversations with Andrea, sitting down and listening to me go back and forth for a long time now. And what I think I'd like to do today is just do some more thinking, some more brainstorming, and just kind of putting things out there, whether it's on paper or what have you, and just keeping something in mind that I could almost start with a blank slate. Like if I was at the point where I was, just getting out of school, or, just on my own for the first time, like the world is kind of your oyster. What would you do with it? What would you do with your time, the time that you have? So I want to kind of keep that in the back of my mind. Obviously it's a little bit different in that I do have kids. I do have a family. I am the only person that makes money in the house. So, we do need to have a roof. We do need to have food. But as you'll see, we'll go over this in a little bit. I've put ourselves in a position so that we can take some liberties and can take some risks, because we do have a little bit of time on our side in terms of how much money we have. So let's cue some of the music here. All right. We got that going in the background. And I don't know how this is going to go. I haven't done like very many brainstorming activities. I think, yeah. I don't know. I've been reading like this book again. There's Start With Why, which is a great book. And there's also this here, Find Your Why, which is more of like a workbook and like a guide to discovering your why. And I know I was talking about this before as well too, with the Ikigai. Oh my goodness, I can't even pronounce it. Let's see, Ikigai. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, see if I can get another image of this thing up here. I'll throw this on here, right? So we did talk a lot about this before. Finding everything in the middle, where it's the thing that you love to do, and find out what you're good at, and then what you get paid for, and then kind of what the world needs. And if you can get all of that stuff put there right in the middle, that's your Ikigai, which is your whole reason for being. Which I guess maybe Simon Sinek will call that. That's your why. I'm not sure if that's quite the same. I have to maybe do a little bit more research and more reading on that. But anyways, so I think I maybe need to go back on my notes to figure out what exactly I did there to try to figure that stuff out. I still think that there's more I could uncover about myself. But maybe what I want to write today, maybe I can start to think of, or just maybe trying to put a little bit of a handle on the things that are kind of like a little thorn on my side, the things that are bothering me, or the things that I have in my mind, that there's just like this nagging thing that this is like voice in my head. So things that are on my mind, or things that are bothering me. And so obviously I just need to figure out, I need to be honest with myself here and really make sure I can get down to the root of the things. So, because at the end of the day, I mean, the whole thing of what I was saying is, do we need to pivot the company, right? Do we need to pivot the company in a way that makes the most sense to help me achieve my goal, or go in whatever direction that may be, right? So if I don't know the direction, I don't know what the goal is, and I don't know if Pixel Media is, in the right, is leading me down the right path. So like you have, what is that? You have to know where you're going in order to know if you're taking the right steps. So let's try to be honest as we can to see if we can figure this out. So what's bothering me? How can I put this? So, well, I know the first thing is back pain. From sitting down in front of a computer. And yeah, like, to be honest, like I hate sitting down at a computer. I can't stand it. Now, I've never had a really good computer chair. I remember one time I spent money getting a chair. I think it was like a $400 or $500 chair, and thinking that it would be good. And it was like the most painful thing ever, sitting in that chair, and maybe didn't have as much adjustments or what have you, but it wasn't good at all. But I wonder if part of me needs to invest in a good chair, if that's going to make any difference. I don't know. But constantly being in pain when you're sitting down and your whole livelihood depends on sitting down, it just makes everything that much more unbearable. Or if it takes something that you don't mind doing into something that you just hate doing. So I do have a slight wonder. So let's say slight wonder if my back pain is the primary cause for like web design falling out of favor. I'm just gonna call it falling out of favor. And what I mean by that is I could put it at point number 2 is that the passion for designing and building websites is not as strong as it used to be. Like the idea of creating websites and building them was like always super fun, a challenge, what have you. Things that I really enjoyed doing. And now it's not there. And the question is it because of my back pain? Like when you're going and sitting down, it's like, oh shit, here I go again. Like this is painful. And then does that make my whole joy and wonder for what I used to love doing just dampen it, right? So how do I figure that out? I mean, the thing too that I know is that like no matter what I do, say I needed to switch careers, like completely do like a complete 180 and just do something completely off the charts that's different, like I'm going to be an EMT or something completely different that is not in my my wheelhouse or my set of skills, there's still going, like, no matter what, there's still going to be situations where I'm going to have to, like, sit down. I mean, it's like a natural human position. I mean, not in a chair position, but maybe sitting down in a squat position is more of a natural human position. But you know what I mean? Like, you're always moving around and out and about and sitting, talking, or you're gonna have to be in a computer to do some stuff, no matter what job you're in. For the most part, I would imagine. So, it's not like I can eliminate complete sitting and that somehow I'm just like walking or moving 24/7, right? So do I have to figure out how to make it so that when I am sitting, that it's not painful anymore? Or do I need to do I need to approach this from a completely different angle where I need to figure out how to get healthy and completely eliminate back pain? I'm pretty sure it can be done. I think if there's combining strength with just building muscles all around the spine, building more flexibility into the hamstrings and the glutes, and just having all those, from head to toe, having your whole body in a better, I don't say like a better connected state, but just being stronger and having like the core tight and everything kind of engaged when you're sitting, it should help like alleviate the pressure from whatever it is when you're sitting down, your glutes aren't engaged or whatever, you're putting extra work on the back or whatever the hell it is. Having a strong core and a strong body should help keep everything tight and help keep that pain away if everything's like in alignment properly. Anyways, yeah, because I know from all the work that I've done in the past to try to eliminate this thing, I've had varying degrees of success, whether it's gone from days where some days I almost don't even feel anything, to days when I'm sure there's probably days where it's like, especially if I'm not sitting down hardly at all, it's like I don't really recognize I had any pain. But it seems like it always comes in waves, and no matter how much I do on the exercise front, it never seems to be enough to counteract the time that I'm spending in front of a computer sitting down, which is like hours and hours and hours every single day. So maybe I have to maybe I need to just completely rethink how I structure my day-to-day and how do I structure my life into not being in front of a computer all the time, to try to eliminate that pain so then I could figure other things out. And all that's, yeah, I mean, that's no tall task. So, I mean, what are on my mind? Just spend time away from a computer. To fully rehabilitate, and is it eliminate pain completely. So of course that's difficult because my livelihood, I just say my skills are predominantly based on computers. So that's a problem. And then the question is, of course, if I were to do that, how the hell do you continue to make money? All right. So I want to try to okay, how should I frame this? Okay. So think about life from a different perspective. So I don't want to get into too many details on exactly what the numbers are right now. Let me know in the comments if you do want me to talk about this at some point. I'd be happy to. So for savings, we have let's say 12. I mean, it all depends. 12 to 18 months. If to live without making any money. So there is that much time to take risks and take action which has no downside. And so what I mean by that is, you know, if I'm trying something because it's something that I want to try to do, there's no downside. If I fail, I fail. No big deal, right? It's not like I have a huge company or whatever. There's people that are employed by me. If we try to go in this new direction and it fails, that the business collapse, and you know, other people that are counting on me or that are working for me, they're all going to lose their jobs. You know, there's no downside. I mean, you got to take a shot at whatever it is that you want. And you know, by not having anything and starting from scratch, I mean, you can try whatever you want. You know, you're not constrained by a bunch of different limitations that future or past success might put on you. So that being said, I have Pixel Media now at a certain point, and I think what it is, and I should put this down here, Pixel can sustain sustain risk for probably a while. For around, I would even say 2 years. Because right now, I mean, through the work that I do and the word of mouth that I will be getting, even if it's slow, I'm sure I can get contracts here and there to help sustain. So I don't say minimal engagement commitment to marketing, not to my clients, who I'll still obviously do the utmost that I can for them. That'll never change. So the question is, so I got back pain. I don't feel like designing websites is the thing for me. Getting away from the computer would be a nice thing to do. I think that would help me at least clear my head a little bit, I guess you can say. But I can't do that even if I wanted to. I'm not suggesting, and I cannot there's no way I can just shut down Pixel. That is not an option. I cannot do that. That is the only thing that is putting food on the table. And there's still going to be some part of me that's going to have to be in front of a computer, which is okay, which I don't have any problems with that. I don't have any problems with that. But so if I have to, just hypothetically, spend 4 hours, like the beginning part of my day from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., 8 to noon, whatever, dedicate 4 hours of just solid work on doing all I need to do for my clients. And then I could spend the rest of the day working on whatever it is that I want to work on or that I'm thinking of working on. That could be a way. That could be a way forward. But what is that thing? I don't feel, for me, that I want to do something that's super drastic, right? Like I'm not looking to, hey, I'm just going to become like, you know, those guys that just jump out of planes to fight fires, or, you know, or become a police officer or anything like that. Although actually being a detective, I think would be super cool. I think that would be a really cool job. But yeah, I'm not interested in doing anything crazy like that. So that's off the table. And I still, in my heart, like creativity is still my thing. You know, whether it's creativity in music or like photography, videos, illustrations. And that's what drove me to web design in the first place, was trying to utilize that kind of creativity to create things. But I think for websites, it maybe just got a little bit too, I don't want to say corporate, but a little bit too, you know, maybe just didn't tap the right type of creativity for me. Or maybe it's just kind of waned in that I feel like I need to move on onto something else because you've been doing something for so long. It's like, maybe it's just time to move on. So whatever we pivot to, I do think being in some type of creative space is still what's right for me. Because I think for me, I've always just been a person that's kind of creative or inquisitive, you know, asking questions and trying to figure things out. That's always been me, and I don't think that that's going to change. But what does that look like? I don't know. So thinking of the podcast again. So the podcast still sounds really great to me in theory, because it could be something where I could talk to other people that are, I won't say that are similar minded, because I'd like to talk to different types of people, but to talk to people that have done things, that have created things, and just listening to their stories and talking and engaging with people, which is another thing that I love to do, is to just talk and engage with people. I think that could satisfy a lot of that creativity, and that kind of that creative spark. And I guess the idea would be I think it would be shifting a little bit of what the purpose of the podcast would be from what I had originally thought, even from last week. But then it could be something that could be interesting, is what if the focus on a business was actually trying to build like a podcast, or build something around a podcast, as opposed to that being just a secondary tool to get people into the main show. You know, like how could I think about this? Like, okay, who's big? Oh, like obviously like Joe Rogan. Obviously he's huge, right? #1 podcaster. Like his whole, like the podcast is the thing. Like that's the main thing, right? Like he doesn't have a podcast for the sole purpose of putting people or getting people to go to other things that he's doing, even though he's doing a whole bunch of other different things. But I think the podcast is kind of like the main attraction. So then for me, then like creating a podcast would be like the main, like that's the business, building a podcast. And then over time, the podcast of course could help you do other things, but that would be like the main thing. So that could be something. I don't know. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on that, but it seems nice. And it would help me with, again, with these issues that are plaguing me, which is really just kind of the pain of sitting down at a desk all day. That's always been a big problem. And then if it allowed me to walk away a little bit from doing too much sitting on a computer, and see if I can figure out if I can fix the back pain by spending more time rehabbing, and really figuring out how to get myself into much, much better shape. And then maybe I could see if the spark for web design or any of that stuff can kind of come back if I can eliminate the pain. I don't know. So that's one idea. And of course there's, and I don't know if something like this would work. So there could be the idea that if sitting down and building websites or what have you is just not my cup of tea anymore, there's always the possibility or the option of just hiring somebody out. Should I think about or trying hiring somebody out and then bring someone on board onto my team and just having them just do the work, and then I could work on the other work, which is getting the customers and trying to get the clients and doing other marketing for the business. The hesitation that I have for doing something like that is that if it ends up being that I find out that building websites or having a creative company or business really isn't what I want to do, then I do have a fear of going really hard on that and just burning out and just not enjoying it. And then not only then is it me having to figure out what to do, but then I have other people that are depending on me and that are dependent on me, with jobs or what have you. I feel like that's not the greatest thing. That wouldn't be the greatest thing. Does that make sense? So I wonder if I should take, again, some more time and really lay out, again, like the skills matrix, the things that could make me money, the things that I have a passion for, and try to see if I can connect the dots, or do I pretty much already know that? It's like I feel like I know myself, but it also maybe doesn't hurt to go over various exercises as well, just to see if you're on the right track. So if I think from this different perspective, that if I could do anything, like there's money in the bank, hey, listen, there's X amount of dollars in the bank. You have enough money to live in the exact same style now, not going up or anything, but the style that you've grown accustomed to, and you can do that for 12 months without having to worry about money. What would you do, or what would you work towards? What would you work towards creating? What does that business and what does that company look like? Like, I know the goals. Like, the goals are pretty straightforward. I'll just write them down here. It's just to create a company that generates sustainable income. Like, that's the holy, that's the holy grail. That's the goal. Whatever, create something, whatever the hell it is that creates money, right? But that doesn't, again, that's where you could argue that Pixel is there. Well, Pixel has made $100,000 in less than a year, Maybe not so much sustainable yet because we still don't have all that recurring revenue just quite yet, but it's well on the way to meeting that goal. So in that way, that's a good thing, but it's also not the greatest thing because it doesn't take into account all the different aspects of what makes you happy, what fills you with purpose and passion, at least for me anyways, right? So then the question becomes, do I just go after a goal for the sake of achieving that goal, or do I have to, how am I trying to say this? So it's not just trying to hit the goal of being able to create a successful company, but it's to create a successful company that also fills you with happiness and purpose and blah, 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 all that kind of things. Do they have to be mutually exclusive, or can they be one and the same, right? So, if, create a company, but also like wake up every morning with a sense of purpose and fulfillment in doing like great work. So that's the other thing. That's another goal. I mean, is that it? Is there anything else that goes towards this in terms of building a company? Because I know there's more personal goals, like being as healthy as possible, being as fit as possible. But what about, is there anything else? Oh. Could there be anything? I feel like this is pretty much it. I mean, it's like having your good sense of why. You know why you're waking up in the morning. You have a specific thing, like my goal or my mission in life is to make people laugh, whatever that case may be. If that's your thing, then I wake up in the morning because I know I'm building a comedy club or I'm making funny YouTube videos, whatever the case may be. And that's providing you with a sense of fulfillment and purpose. And then hopefully, of course, you have that sense of why and you use that to create a company that can help you just generate the revenue. However ways you can generate revenue by doing what it is that you're doing. Like when the why is established, then the how, I think you get more clarity around how you're going to help bring your why out there into the world, right? How are you going to achieve those metrics to what would make a successful company? Is there anything else? I feel like that's kind of it. I feel like that's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. I don't even know if this is right. Business goals. It's not. Goals for creating. That's not right either. I don't know what the right terminology is for this. I can't think. Part of me, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live stream is to showcase what it would be like, or what's the best way to say this? The reasons for doing this live stream is to showcase all the different steps and how basically I got from point A, which is no company at all, to point B, which is a company that is successful, making a lot of money, $1 million, just a number, but making a lot of money. And so that all the successes, failures, the hardships, and everything in between, from A to B could be documented, and people could tease out lessons or what have you. So I mean, this is part of it. Obviously, this is, to me, I don't know. I would not disagree with you if you're saying, that I'm being ridiculous and that I'm overthinking things way to the extreme, that you got a good thing going here with your website company. Just stick with that. Figure out how you could build it to the point where you can hire other people, and then you can kind of go from there. I totally get that. And that's in my mind of maybe that's what I need to do. But again, there's always that point of me of I haven't quite figured out quite right what it is that makes me happy, or makes me filled with purpose. I don't want to use the word. I want to be very careful with that word happiness, because happiness, nobody can just stay in a state of pure happiness 24/7. I think that's just impossible. But being filled with purpose and drive and fulfillment in what you do, even though of course every day is not going to be perfect, but I don't have that with what I'm doing right now. And that's why, now, taking a little bit of a step back and a pause and just trying to think, okay, is this the right direction for me? And if it's not, then now's probably a good time to figure out what that direction should be. Or it's also a good time to take some risks, try some different things out. They can be completely different things. That's okay. And see what happens, And as I said, I wrote down, there's no downside to trying new things, because at the end of the day, my skills as a web designer are always going to be there. I've been doing this for, I don't even remember now, 15 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm pretty good at it. I think it'll always be there in my back pocket to at least help me, feed my family, really. And if that is not something that gives me a good sense of purpose, then am I being fair to myself? If I just keep going down that path. And there was something, I heard this, I think it was today. No, it was today. It was definitely today. It was Alex Hormozi and Chris Williamson talking. And there was a quote or whatever was said. It was something along the lines of, imagine if you're successful at something that you hate doing or that you don't enjoy doing. Imagine where you would be if you were successful at something that you love doing. And that really hit me pretty hard, in that, while I'm trying to build a company that I maybe don't really want because it's not really for me. And so far, yeah, I've already made over $100,000. But if that's not, if I'm successful, I consider that a success. I'm happy with that. And I know I could probably keep going and build more and more and more. But if I could be successful at something that I don't really enjoy doing, imagine if I could take the dedication and if I was more inspired and I had fulfillment and happiness and joy, blah, 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 and I could really dedicate that to something that I truly wanted to do and enjoyed doing. And then I would be even more focused and more driven. Just imagine how successful that could be. And I think that, again, is the crux of the thing that's always kind of driven me to have these videos where it's things aren't quite right. I don't know what's going on. Something's not right. And I think, being honest with myself, I think that's what's not right. It's the nature of what I'm doing is not what I should be doing. I don't know. Anyways, ramblings, musings. But it would be so easy if, it was like, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a lawyer or something like that where, well, I guess back in the day, if I could, it'd be like, I want to be a jet fighter pilot. Which, that I wanted to do, really wanted to do that. And I think when I was 40 years old, I took the test to be in the Army, and I was going to go to Trenton, actually, in Canada, in Ontario, for air crew selection or whatever it was. It's like a 2-day air crew selection. They're going to send me there, but then I had to get my eyes tested, and my eyes didn't pass the test. So I had to get surgery, couldn't afford it because it's like $6,000 for laser eye surgery. And so, yeah, that dream kind of died there. And now I don't think they're wanting to have 43, 44-year-old pilots. But you never know. Anyways, that's in the Army. And I also don't want to go in the Army anymore, or the Air Force. But then I could also fly planes. Hey, I could always take courses, fly planes. But that's not really a business or a company. That's just me doing something that's cool. But yeah, anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, the point is I don't have something like super clear of something I would love to do, Again, if I was back to a kid, it'd be like, I'd want to be an NHL player. Or, I mean, that's pretty difficult, but, it would be something that I could have a very good singular dedication and singular focus into getting as good as I possibly can to being the best hockey player that I could. So anyways, I don't have that now. Again, I like creativity, but it's not like, hey, I want to be a food photographer, or I want to be a, movie director, or like, I don't have that specific thing in mind. I kind of wish I did. And maybe that's the thing I need to figure out. But one thing that I've noticed about myself is I always get very excited about the process of doing things. Like if someone was to say to me, like, oh, here's a good example. Just even with Pixel, talking about creating courses. I think about the process of creating courses. I'm like, oh, great. We get to figure out how to make like print PDF materials. So nice, like a booklet for the courses, whatever the course material is, right? I get to make a nice, have artistic freedom to design a really cool booklet for the course material, and to design like a nice website. And how we can get creative with that, and how things are going to flow for the users, and how they're going to interact with the course material, and then making the videos and like sitting down filming the videos, like all of that stuff. That actually gets me excited. I'm like, that's actually really kind of cool. That's cool stuff to do. But then when I think about like, oh, I actually have to go in and like create the material for web design, I'm just like, it's just so boring and then so dry. And it's like, again, I don't know if that's just a loss of passion for like web design, or what. Like, I don't know. Like, why is it that everything that surrounds that process is exciting to me, except the actual sitting down and doing that work, which had me thinking, and it was something that I thought over, I think starting on Friday, I was thinking about this. It's like, well, what if, again, thinking of Pixel or what have you, is that we don't like create courses per se, but we like, no, I shouldn't say that. So instead of saying Pixel, we create web design courses, it's like we're a company that helps you as a business owner, or whoever it is you are, we help you create your courses. So the clients would come to us and say like, hey, or come talk to me or whatever. I say, hey, listen, I am a, whatever, wedding photographer, whatever the case may be, or I am a baker and I bake wedding cakes, or whatever skill it is that you have that you want to teach. You come to me and say, Odum, I need to put together a course. And then I'm like, okay, you need to put together a course? Awesome. Well, what's your material? What are you thinking about? How are you going to structure the course? Perfect. Let's do that. Let's work together. Let's go over to the studio or to your house or whatever. Those are the logistics of it. But let's film you, teaching all the courses, the modules, whatever the lessons. And then let's take your content, let's create an awesome booklet or printout or PDF or whatever. Let's figure out how the website is going to go, and we'll get all those things, all those pieces working together. And I don't know. And then that's basically it. And like figure out how the course is going to go, whether it's going to be like a membership thing or it's like a one-off thing, figure out all that. Like that, the whole process of creating and designing a course, to me, it seems like that pulls from all the different things that I like to create. I really like that idea. So that's something that I thought of, this could be a way that I could take all the things that I enjoy doing and, serving it up. It's still, what am I thinking? It's still like a service-based business. But I feel like it has more interactions and more, more creativity with dealing with clients, and the more back and forth, as opposed to just a website where it's just, I just need a place to throw content up. You just sit down there and you just kind of do it. I mean, I guess from all this, you'd still need to have some kind of website or whatever, but that's not the focus of the relationship and the ask of the client. It's more to make a course and figure out how to, produce it. So, and a website could just be like an added feature of the offerings. So, yeah, that's something that's interesting to me, and it could work, and that I think that could be a good, not segue, or a good pivot for what Pixel could do if it's more in line with the things that I like to do. So that's one. I think I'm gonna explore that in a little bit more detail, because that might work. The second thing, I talked a little bit about this before. Again, it goes with the podcast, and maybe transitioning into, well, see, this wouldn't be Pixel transitioning to a podcast. This would be like starting a completely different company and saying like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on starting a podcast and building a podcast as a business, where the goal of the podcast is to talk to people that have done some really cool things with, whether it's with business or what have you. But I'd have to flesh that out more, because it doesn't, number one, I feel like a lot of people do this. A lot of people have entrepreneur type podcasts. So to sit here and say like, oh, I'm just going to start a podcast, which is going to help people, like help entrepreneurs. Like there's like a million of those already. It's like such a crowded space. And that doesn't really resonate with me. Like creating a podcast and talking with people is really cool, but how to structure a business around that would help with my help with me thinking about how to fulfill my purpose. I don't think that that's the right way to go. I don't think so, but it's something to think about anyways, because I love podcasting. I love talking to people. So building something around that would just make sense. But what the topic would be and how I would go about doing it, I have no idea. And can you make a business? Can you build a business straight around podcasting? Absolutely, you can. There's no doubt about it that you can. But if I was to do that, it would be that would be where I'm going completely outside the box, right? Where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to create something. I'm going to take a risk, create a podcast. Maybe I'm going to podcast about gardening. I know nothing about gardening, but just like, completely outside of my current area of what I do, right? And then building something around that. That's possible, again, but is that what I want to do? I don't know. Because I love podcasting, but doesn't mean I'm going to love podcasting about, I don't know, cars, right? Or topics that I guess don't really interest me, right? So, and I feel like if I was to start a podcast, just for the sake, again, of starting a podcast completely outside of Pixel and everything, that I would want it to be, I think it would be better to have some type of niche as opposed to do something more generic of like, hey, I'm just talking to people that I think are cool and interesting. Like having a niche would make more sense because I think that'll help you establish an audience faster. And of course, the idea of a business is to make money at the end of the day, and thinking initially how you're going to get money off of something is important. Even if you don't like thinking about it or talking about it, it's still important because at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills. So having a podcast that is niche enough, it'll help you in the future get, sponsorships or advertising or however you'd want to make money off of a podcast. So yeah, so that's the idea of podcasting. And then the other idea I said is Pixel kind of pivoting into a studio or a company that helps people create materials for courses, for education, for teaching. And then the third thing that I was thinking about, and I've talked about this a little bit before, about like my personal brand and creating a business around a personal brand or my personal brand. And part of that personal brand is, number one, it's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's like trying to figure out how the hell to make a business and to make something that's sustainable. So I can find work in, the work that I love to do, find work in the purpose and the passion. So it's developing a brand around that. And I think the overall idea or theme or philosophy around this brand would be how to live your best life possible, how to achieve, your dreams and your goals and your ambitions, whether that is in business or whether that's in relationships or, your finances or your health. It's something that I want to do, and I want, I guess who doesn't want to be the best person that they can be, right? But how do you go about doing that? And so the personal brand would be kind of documenting that process of doing that, of doing those things. So I guess it would be a little bit better in that, I'd be doing a live stream about how to build a business, but the business is building out like a personal brand. So it would be almost weird. It's like, here's my live stream, and it's like, I just want to build a business about me doing what I'm doing right now. So I don't know. It's a little bit weird, a little bit meta. But there would be other things that would be associated with that. Again, because it's for me, focusing on fitness and health and trying to fix my back, trying to fix the back pain. So I'm not living with this chronic back pain that I've lived with for 10, 15 years now. And that's, I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. I think, what is it, like 80% of all North Americans will experience or live with back pain at some point in their life. I don't doubt that at all. Yeah, and to fix that without resorting to drugs or surgery or anything like that, I don't know. That would be something interesting to document. Anyways, I'd have to put a lot more thought into that. But it was something that I've always wanted to do. And, there's the Odum and Andrea, odumanandrea.com, where Andrea and I were podcasting and we're talking about things. And there's things that we have done that we've talked about in our podcast. Like, hey, this is how we can go about and live, let me back up a bit. So we talk about people that have done some really cool things into their lives. And then Andrew and I would go ahead and talk about those things and figure out how we can incorporate those into our lives. And we've done a lot of those things kind of behind the scenes here to try to better our life. And I guess maybe that was more, the idea would be to put more of that stuff out there in the world and just build a brand around that. And where that goes and how you make money from that is definitely a lot more nebulous. But that could be something that could definitely hit my why, in the sense of, well, this is how I'm trying to do stuff to better me personally. And then the why of being able to put that out there into the world and help other people achieve that same thing. That would be amazing. Cause I think I'm pretty sure I've said this before, like teaching, and helping people has always been like amazing. Like going back to the university days, when I TA students and seeing the look on their face when they would finally get a concept after I'd explain it to them, or they have that sense of kind of joy of wonder of just like understanding something for the first time, like truly understanding something. It's just like, it just fills you up with, I don't know, just like happiness. Like it's just like, it's like I did something really good today. I did something that another person took and helped them improve their life. Like that's just like such a phenomenal feeling. And if you're watching this and you remember some of my earliest days on the internet back in 2009, I think it was, when I used to make videos on giving it away. And that whole business was like a contesting company that we had. And basically every day we just gave away prizes. And the idea behind that business was to give away things to people, and then we would get an audience, and then you make money on advertising or what have you. And then through that, that money you would get through advertising or revenue, you put it out back to the world and give that stuff away. And then more people would watch because it'd be really cool. And then just the idea was to snowball with that. So it never ended up taking off, in the sense that I did not have enough money. Like we were giving away twice as much money as we were making in return. So it never got past the hump that it needed to get to in terms of critical mass to follow the company to make enough money to give it away. But what I do remember is that the people that won that I'd interact with, it just felt so good. Because I remember some people were like, oh my goodness, I couldn't buy groceries and I didn't know what to do. And then they won like $100 gift card or whatever it was. And they're like, thank you so much. This like means so much to me. Like it was like, I don't know. It just felt really, really good. Another person, they won something. They won like I don't know if it was a TV or something like that. They're like, oh, my kid was just in the hospital. And you know, I'm going to take this and they're going to be able to play video games now or whatever. And to heal back from whatever it is that they're in the hospital for. I just felt really, really good. So the idea of helping people, I think that's for a lot of people, that's fulfilling. I think there could be if there was a whole lot more of that in the world where people would live their lives trying to serve and help other people, I think the world would be a pretty good place. A lot of people walking around with having that sense of purpose and fulfillment. And maybe that's what's missing for me. Maybe that's what I don't have. When I make a website, it's like, what am I doing? Am I really helping move the world into a better place? I don't think so. But I also it's weird too with that statement, because it's not like I have aspirations or dreams of being the next Prime Minister of Canada and like fixing everything that I think needs to be fixed. But just making one person smile, I think could go a long way. And if you could do that on a consistent daily basis, then I think you're onto something. It doesn't always have to be the biggest changes. It could be little things at a time. So, yeah. So those are the three things that I have in my mind that I'm thinking of how to pivot. So creating a podcast, creating a personal brand that just talks about personal growth and development. And then the third one, multiple fingers there. The third one would be pivoting Pixel a little bit away from just a creative media company to, a creative company that specializes in creating educational material for companies or businesses. Right. So 3 options. 1, 2, 3. Let me know what you think. if you have anything. Yeah, what do you think would be a good idea? Maybe there could be two ways to answer that question. What would be a good idea for you? And then also, what do you think, knowing me, what do you think I should do? I don't know. Maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. So I'm going to spend more time thinking, and we'll touch base again tomorrow when maybe I'll see if I can do a little bit of like, just not say homework, but I'm going to take a look at this again, take a look at this book and see if there are any, what's it called? Not like workshops, but like workbooks. I don't know. I'm going to see if there's any kind of focused things that I could do, write down, see if I can help narrow myself down a little bit more, and then maybe go over it tomorrow to see if we can narrow this down. What are we at? Episode 89? I think by the time I get to episode like 100, because maybe, that's episode 100, maybe that's like, okay, this is the direction we're going, full steam ahead. So that might be nice. So anyways, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Much appreciated. And as always, I'll see you back here with another video tomorrow.